Imagine that you bought an MP3 player, and the first time you play it, you do not hear a sound. Consumers faced various problems in the market, such as competition in the market, misleading advertisements, availability of inferior quality of goods and services, and many more. Well, the good news is, you have the rights as a consumer, and these rights protect us when a product is defective. Do you know that as a consumer, you enjoy certain rights? These rights have been formally given to us by the government under the Consumer Protection Act to safeguard consumers' interests. The Department of Trade and Industry is responsible for realizing the country's goal of a globally competitive and innovative industry and services sector that contributes to inclusive growth and employment generation. They urges Filipino consumers to always assert their rights and practice their responsibilities, especially amidst the pandemic where transactions are mostly done online. As consumers, we have 8 basic rights. These are rights to basic needs, safety, information, choice, be heard with rest, consumer education, and a healthy environment. And in this video, let us discuss these rights in detail. Right to basic needs. The first consumer right is the right to basic needs, which guarantees survival, adequate food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, education, and sanitation. With this right, consumers can look forward to the availability of essential and prime commodities at affordable prices and good quality. The right to safety. The second consumer right is the right to safety, which is the right to be protected against the marketing of goods or the provision of services that are hazardous to health and life. For example, a consumer should check an LPG tank for leakage at the time of purchase. Suppose the LPG tank starts leaking afterwards, leading to fire and injury or death to anyone. In that case, the supplier is liable to pay compensation. The right to information. The third consumer right is the right to information, which is the right to be protected against fraudulent, dishonest, or misleading advertising, labeling, promotion, and the right to be given the facts and information needed to make an informed choice. Suppliers and dealers must inform consumers about the safety precautions to be taken while using the products to avoid loss or injury. So let's go back to our example. The LPG supplier should inform the consumer to stop the flow of gas with the help of a regulator when it is not used. The right to choose. The fourth consumer right is the right to choose, which is the right to choose products at competitive prices with an assurance of satisfactory quality. This implies that dealers and traders should offer a wide variety of products to consumers and not pressure them to buy their poor goods. The right to be heard. The fifth consumer right is the right to be heard, which is the right to express consumer interest in the making and executing of the government policies. Thus, they have the right to be heard by the manufacturers, dealers, advertisers, government, and public bodies in case of dissatisfaction with a good or service. The right to redress. The sixth consumer right is the right to seek redressal, which is the right to be compensated for misrepresentation, shoddy goods, or unsatisfactory services. So, if the consumer has a complaint due to unfair trade practices done by sellers, he has a right to get relief. Thus, the consumer has a right to get defective goods replaced or money refunded by the sellers. This also provides due compensation to consumers for any loss or injury suffered due to fault caused by supplier or manufacturers. The right to consumer education. The seventh consumer right is the right to consumer education, which is the right to acquire the knowledge and skills necessary to be an informed consumer. The government encourages consumers to exercise their consumer rights. The body responsible for educating consumers are expected to educate and inform us about our rights and the reliefs available to us. The right to a healthy environment. The 8 consumer rights are the right to a healthy environment, which is the right to live and work in an environment that is neither threatening nor dangerous and permits a life of dignity and well-being. Everyone has the right to an adequate environment. A good environment is considered a precondition for realizing other human rights, including rights to life, food, health, and an acceptable standard of living. Everyone should be able to live in an environment conducive to their health and well-being. Remember that we have rights to basic needs, rights to safety, right to be informed, right to choose, right to be heard, right to seek redressal, right to consumer education, and a right to healthy environment. Consumer protection makes markets work for both businesses and consumers. Remember that consumers need to be able to obtain accurate and biased information about the products and services they purchase. This enables them to make the best choices based on their interest and prevents them from being mistreated or misled by the businesses. So these consumer protection policies, laws, and regulations can help increase consumer welfare by ensuring that businesses can be held accountable. So now, let us all practice our consumer rights. So that's it. Hope you have learned something today. So see you in our next lecture. Goodbye!